Hey, this is Debbie with DB Wellbeing. And if you really want to learn to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I got like a really good friend, one of my first friends in Florida. It's going to come on and rock the mic with me here at the Shine Studios. And her name's Debi Borger. She's from DB Wellbeing. Debbie's journey is amazing. I'm blessed to be able to work with her, just kind of help her bridge her success gap and her performance gap. And she is, I would almost say she's a little bit better than me about working with other people as well, with regards to really helping them level up. She's super connected here in South Florida. She's helped me out immensely. The knowledge nuggets she drops about her journey and her passion and her fire for helping people really lean into their ultimate human potential is on full display. So please share this with somebody that might be a little lost or that knows that there's more, because they're going to definitely pick up some serious, awesome sauce knowledge nuggets. And if you like it, please hit like or subscribe. Our sponsors and affiliates absolutely love that. So without further ado, here comes my really good friend, my sister from another mister, Debi Borger from DB Wellbeing. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I am so stoked to bring you this. It's like one of my best friends from, not womb to tomb, but she was one of my first friends in South Florida. I was like periscoping, if you guys remember what that was, kind of doing live streams, and she was at work, and she's like, "What is that, man?" And I showed her, she's like, "Wow." And then she actually kind of showed me around South Florida, introduced me to some really cool people. So I have like almost a debt that I kind of feel that I owe to my good friend Debi Borger, who's from Pottstown, Pennsylvania, to the waves of South Florida. She's a native Pennsylvanian graduated from Temple University undergraduate, holds dual degrees in elementary and early childhood education, so she's kind of a smarty. But she didn't stop in the classroom. She's an athlete, adventure, and equestrian, a lifelong athlete. Debi's passion for active, water-based lifestyle led her to come to the aquatics director and a certified level 2 kayak SUP, which is stand-up paddleboarding instructor. She teaches both on land and sea. She's a big believer in healing through movement because she battled some spinal injuries. She discovered the power of fitness and transforming her body. She used strength training to heal and is now driven to help others achieve the same results. She's a fitness guru extraordinaire with an impressive list of certifications from the NASM and ASM certified personal trainer, youth exercise specialist, nutritionist, yogi, and more. And now she's also kind of a globe-trotting instructor as well. Like before she was in Costa Rica, she loves anywhere there's water, you'll find my friend Debi. But she's also really moved into, I'm so proud of her for moving into mindset coaching, into my arena. And she's absolutely phenomenal. She's coached me. I'm blessed to be able to help her out a little bit in her business and just to have a 2.0 interview with her and see how far she's came, because I literally watched our interview from August 18th of 2020, and it was like both of our stuff looked like shit. And it was funny to see how far. Now you see she's light, she's bright, she's healthy, and my whole setup's different. And I'm going to shut up and introduce Deb. So Debi, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, tell us a superpower you might have that nobody knows about until now.
A superpower that I might have that nobody knows about until now. I am a crazy proofread editor.
Oh, yes,
I
you
can
are.
immediately pick out spelling and grammatical errors like that.
I got to tell you, Debi, like I said, she's a good friend and she's a confidant, and we text each other probably at least once a day just about coaching stuff. And she'll be like, I love catching her. Like, it doesn't happen. I think it's happened twice in the years I've known her, but I'm like, hey, that's wrong. That's grammatically wrong. But it's true. You're like really good at that. So let's get a little bit to your background. Again, because people would have to go back all the way back to, I believe, episode 121, and we'll be dropping you in the 450s. So let's go kind of back to Pottstown and a little bit of the education and journey that kind of brought you to South Florida and into your fitness coaching and your mindset coaching.
So I started in Temple University with a dual degree, yes, in education, because I was always a camp counselor growing up, working with kids, and I was a lifeguard and I taught swim instruction at a young age at the YMCA. So it seemed natural to go to college, and my parents said, "What do you want to do?" And "What do you like to do?" And I said, "Well, I like to work with kids." Okay. Naturally, you're going to become an educator. I also taught Hebrew school and Sunday school. So that seemed to be the right fit to be an educator. Gradually, after I graduated college, I took a year off and I went to Costa Rica. And that's when I first got bit by that bug in 2000. And I came back and I taught a little bit in some different settings, a preschool setting, a intermediate school, meaning where kids go in between getting kicked out of high school before they go to detention centers. So that was a really interesting experience. And then I became an aquatics director and phys ed teacher in Deal, New Jersey when I was living in Long Branch. And that was because of No Child Left Behind at the time. It was a very transitional year for young educators like myself. And a lot of us weren't able to get tenured jobs in the school districts that at that time. So I moved to New Jersey and again, lived on the shore. I had spent my summers in Ocean City, Maryland. And that's basically how I ended up kind of getting into the fitness world in an education background, with an education background.
So was it like these kids that are either going to go to youth detention? Were you kind of like, for a lack of a better term, a savior for them? Like to kind of like say, okay, this is a direction you could go in life, or this is another direction. Is that kind of what you did?
Yes and no.
Okay.
They couldn't behave and be in a regular classroom setting.
Gotcha.
Whether it was because they had mental issues or learning disabilities, or some of them could have been born addicted to drugs. There were so many different things that were going on. I mean, we had classrooms with padded walls. So, I mean, these kids would have to go in the room, bang it out, slam on whatever you needed to do, and let us know when you're ready to re-enter the classroom. There's a smaller setting. But yes, you were kind of like their last resort, that if they couldn't get their act together, they weren't going to be put back in with the normal population in school, or they were going to go into a detention facility.
That's amazing. You have that takes mad patience, right? And that's where a lot of it comes, especially with you being an instructor, where people want those results now. And it's like, dude, it didn't take you 3 months to get to where you are now. It's going to take you a little longer, but you push them and you level them up. That's beautiful. So tell me a little bit about the trip to Florida, or the move to Florida, and then how you really got settled in rocking. Because I'll tell you what, like, squad, Jupiter, Florida, like, I affectionately call her like the mayor of Jupiter, because she knows freaking everybody. And it's awesome to watch her like network and move around, and the connections she makes and the people that she introduces me to. So tell us a little bit about that.
It's interesting you say that, because I think for years, I laughed every time someone would say that to me. I mean, I would have friends who'd come to visit and they'd say, everywhere we go, you know somebody. Like, you're like the mayor.
It's true. You and I can't go to coffee without like 7 people coming to our table.
I know. But since I've returned and you and I have been working together, I've actually, as you know, owned it and leaned into it.
Right.
And started to say, okay, let's level up and look at this for a second and actually see that, and who I can connect with who, and who I can reach out to for opportunities. And it's kind of amazing, but it's also kind of like, if I ever want to go on a date, I think I'm going to have to go like way out of town. But it's interesting, because I came here from Ocean City, Maryland, with a bunch of sport fishermen. I wasn't going back to Costa Rica that year, and I was bartending, and my friends said, we're going to Stort, Florida. And my girlfriend said, yeah, I'm going to go to Jupiter. And I have always had family in Fort Lauderdale,
right?
But I didn't want to go to Fort Lauderdale. And so I said, okay, I'll come down with you for a season and get a job bartending. And my first job bartending here was at the Rum Bar at Panama Hattie's, which is no longer there.
I think it was literally taken down the year I moved here. That's the one across from Waterway?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Literally, it was being demolished. It was like 2014 or something like that. Yes. It was like a shell. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
And so I worked there. And then I think I went back to Ocean City for one summer, and then that was it. I came back here and I stayed here. And so it was the ties to the fishing community. And then I worked for Blue Line, and it was the ties to that. And I ran summer camp, and I worked in restaurants and bars in the area. So in every field, I knew a lot of people because of all the different jobs that I had.
Yeah.
And ever since I came back now, it's completely different because I remember talking to Matt Arnsman at Blue Line when I got back. And I think I told you this story where I said to him after I moved back from Costa Rica, I said that I wasn't sure that I wanted to come back here, that I thought I wanted to move somewhere new and start somewhere new. And he says to me, what do you mean you're not going to come? You weren't going to come back to Jupiter. You're like a person here.
Yeah. You're like somebody,
just made me
dude.
laugh because I'm like, I'm a person
Yeah.
in Jupiter. He's like, you're an OG. You have to come back here.
100%.
Like,
Yeah.
where else did you go?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you came back because I think it's a great place to plant your flag for right now. Because I know that you and I are working to get you the laptop lifestyle to travel where you want, coach from where you want, and stuff like that, which you kind of do it now already, but just to maybe put that on steroids. But I'm so glad that you home based here just because it's chill. I tell people I love to travel, but I'll probably take my last breath in Palm Beach Gardens or Jupiter. It's my version of paradise. And it's funny when people come here, they go, I got you. I understand why. So let's move into how you kind of like really what turned on the fitness, the fitness kind of bug for you. I mean, obviously look at you, you're in stellar shape and you always have been since I've known you, but like they really help people level up their fitness side.
For me, it started with my back problems. Like you said, I love riding horses. I am active. I like to go hiking. I like to be out on the water. And for me, it really started with that. I had scoliosis. I have scoliosis, and I suffered a neck injury early on in my years here in Florida, working for a paddleboard company. And it was really about trying to strengthen the muscles around the spine because they've been telling me that I need spinal surgery since I was in my early 20s. When I lived in New Jersey, I started with x-rays and MRIs and being told that I needed to have spinal surgery. And so I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And one of the things that I realized was the stronger the rest of my body got, the easier it was for me to move and adapt and for other muscles to compensate for things and give my back a little bit of a break. As I got older, I wanted to kind of help and share that with other people. And I made the jump. I mean, if you remember when we met, I had been working as a bartender and I had carpal tunnel surgery. I was nannying for my nephew. I couldn't go back to working at the bar. Then I got sober and I was working in a coffee shop, breakfast.
10 plus years, by the way.
Where we met. Yep. And it was a little bit of training and a little bit of waitressing. And finally it was like, okay, or you need to jump off and see if you sink or fly, fall or fly. And so finally I said, I don't want to do this physical job like this anymore. And I want to do something else. And so that's how really I ran, jumped, and luckily I flew.
And you're rock star.
You're a full-time personal trainer.
Yeah, and you're highly sought after. That I know that you've turned you respectfully have to turn people down just because of your time and energy and stuff like that. And I know we've worked on it as well, like how to do that politely. But so let's move into kind of coaching because that's what I really want to brand you on this podcast. I want to make sure that people out there that need you to help them level up their life, to help them with their mindset, bridge that success and performance gap. Right. So what moved you into that arena?
Well, first off, obviously, as watching the transformation that I underwent with you when I came back. So obviously I owe you
I really appreciate
all of the appreciation of that. But fitness always has a part, which is mindset. I always say there's the physical part of fitness. There's the mental part of fitness, there's the emotional part of fitness, and then there's the rest part of fitness, right? The sleep and the recovery. But I think for me, mostly was putting it all together and then working with you and being able to focus, as we say, on the windshield and the future and not through the rearview mirror and the past. And being able to say, okay, these are the goals that I want to set for myself. as you remember, when we sat down and you said, what is it that when I called you to look at real estate,
Yeah,
place
you
to
did.
live,
Yep.
and you said, well, what is it you want to do with the rest of your life? And I was like, so, but even throughout the process in really learning, especially as of late, that calling to me, that answer that I gave to you was embedded in my being all this time. And I didn't realize it until it was called to the surface.
Surfaced it, right?
It had been, as I told you, I've always had this vision. I've always had this idea. And then you stuff it down, and we go and do what we think we should do, or we go and work what pays the bills. And personal training and coaching doesn't always pay the bills first.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I'm jumping off a ledge and taking a chance, but I knew that this is something that I had to do because it's been in my soul and in my being, and it's my calling. And
it's like you're born to do it.
Together.
You're born to do it. And the older we get, I'm not going to say either. Well, I'm 52. I know how old you are. I'm not going to say it, but it's like we're kind of in that silverback age, right? Where we're not
I'm not in the silverback yet.
Well, you're not young where people are like, what the hell are you talking about? Shut up, right?
No,
you're
no,
not
you're right.
old.
You're right.
And people are like, yeah, okay, salty. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're kind of in that where we're approached, and it's just like a really great time to take advantage of your strengths that you've leveraged through the years, if you will. So what do you feel then makes a great coach?
I think a great coach is, first of all, someone that you jive with, right?
Yeah.
Someone that you trust, someone that you can trust, someone that is going to be honest with you and you can be honest with them, but they're going to tell you the hard things, but they're not going to exploit that and take advantage of being able to tell you hard things. And I think that it's someone who really is always in your corner and wants to see the best for you, and not what it's going to bring back to them in return. They really want to see you, like a teacher wants to see their students thrive.
Sure.
They want to see them grow and evolve. Gotcha. And then they're going to be the one in your corner and clapping for you and cheering you on when you do.
Right.
And I think that it's someone, most importantly, that you can trust again.
Yeah.
You know, because
and it really listens really deeply, which you are really, really good at, to internalize and then really bring them through, because we're coaches, we're not consultants. Like you're a fitness consultant, right? Like you will tell people how you do this exercise, make sure their form's correct and whatnot. As coaches, we know what everybody wants. They just don't know how to talk themselves into it, right? But every challenge they have next to their heart, the solutions there too. So we're kind of bringing that out with questions that we ask. And with that being said, then when you are maybe in a discovery session and bringing in your first kind of prospect or client, not first, but the next one, and is there any secret sauce you don't mind sharing that you help them find that initial blind spot that's really holding them back?
Well, you ask them where they think where they would like to be in 5 years, and ask them what's holding them back at this point in time from being there.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, what is your goal? Okay. What would you really like to do that you haven't done? And well, what are the things that are holding you back from doing that right now?
Love it.
Right. Because it's step by step.
Right.
So let's start with the first step.
Right.
What is it right now in your life that you would like to change?
Right.
And then go from there.
I love that.
And what is it that is preventing you from making those changes to those things?
Love it. And if you have all that recipe, you can build a game plan with them, right? To really attack and do it. But they've got to come up with it. That's the thing, is they've got to come up with it. And you and I talk about that a lot. It's like with our own clients, when we talk, we don't share critical info, but we share get them to make that decision. So is there, okay, let's say you're maybe in that discovery session. Is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Yes. What makes you qualified to do this?
I love it. Yeah, exactly. Do you have a coach?
I have a coach.
Yeah.
I've had a
Yeah.
trainer.
Yes.
I've worked with like 3 or 4 trainers in my
Yeah.
life. I'm actually starting to look for another one.
Right.
I probably shouldn't say that out loud, or I'm going to have a bunch of trainers.
You have everybody ringing you up.
I'll do it.
I got you, Debbie. I love that. I
like,
love
yes,
it.
but how to work with this spine and this neck.
Right. Yeah, that's critical for you. 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't want to get hurt. Like
no, and what I mean by that is there are many different ways that someone look. I say that there's people who are book smart, and I say that there are people who are street smart. We all know that.
Mhm.
There are people who maybe didn't go to school to learn to be one thing or the other, but have the experience of actually walking through that fire that has come out on the other side and been able to say, this is what helped me to get through it.
Right.
This is what I did, and this is where I am now. And it may not be the right step for you, but together we can find the right steps for you.
Love it.
But everybody's different. Just like every body is different. I can't train everybody cookie cutter because everybody's body is different. Everybody's mind is different.
Right.
Everyone's goals are different.
So as you made the jump let me ask you this first. What do you feel like your strengths are as a coach?
Experience.
Okay. Unpack that.
But unpack it.
Yeah.
I think, well, first of all, I mean, I think it's education. I should go back and say it's education. I mean, you can't just be a coach because you're walking around saying, oh, I went through this or I went through that. Okay. So obviously there's got to be some structure. There's got to be some education. If I can handle 30 kids in a North Philadelphia school, I can handle one-on-one in a classroom and things like that. There's got to be some structure.
Right.
But I also feel that there are times when someone says, well, for example, you don't have kids. You don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
You've never been married. You don't understand.
Right.
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 But what they don't know about me is that I was 20 years old and raising someone else's 2 kids at the time.
Right. Yeah.
They don't know my past experience.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
You were never addicted to drugs, so you don't understand. Or you never had this go on in your family, so you don't understand.
Right. Yeah.
I have a lot of experience that a lot of people don't know about and a lot of things. So I think before you judge and try to pick your coach on what you think and take a look and listen.
You ever fight imposter syndrome being a coach?
I think you fight imposter syndrome in every line of work that you have.
How do you overcome it?
I actually just partook in a study by another coach who was doing a study on imposter syndrome, and she interviewed me on it. And especially as women, and especially back in the day, as women in the fitness industry, imposter syndrome, are you kidding?
Right. Yeah. We're like, really?
Other male trainers telling you don't know what you're doing because you're a woman.
Right.
You start off
down
here and have to prove yourself as a woman in the fitness industry. Not so much, I wouldn't think anymore, but I just had a trainer say to me the other day at a new gym where I'm working out and working, and they said, I've been watching you. I've been watching you work out, I watch everybody. You're the real deal.
No, I would agree with them 100%.
But I have to prove myself by how I walk in and how I work out.
Yeah.
To not feel the imposter syndrome of like, am I a good enough trainer in their eyes? Or, and in coaching, absolutely too. I think everybody suffers with an imposter syndrome.
100%. With my coach, he told me, and I think I sent this out to my roster of clients yesterday, to never link your confidence to your abilities. Right. And it's
I saw that.
It's huge with that, because if you're going to link, like, okay, I'm blessed to coach a billionaire. Hey, Chet, if you're listening, buddy. And I'm like, dude, what the hell can I tell him? But what I do is I lean into my confidence in my need to serve, to help. And when I do that, they see the genuine, which pops me out of the imposter syndrome, right? So that's what I tell anybody that's really going through that, is to lean into your confidence of your desire to serve, and never link your confidence to your abilities, because we'll never be good enough in our own minds all the time. It's just never going to happen. So we talked about your strengths.
But one thing about the imposter syndrome, though, real quick, when you are imposter syndrome can also be linked with being uncomfortable in an unfamiliar environment, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when you're always leveling up, that new level is always unknown and uncomfortable.
It's the best.
So if you're not suffering from imposter syndrome, then you're not leveling up.
Yep. I try to
Because
fail
if
every
you're
day.
good where you are here,
Yeah,
that's where you stay.
absolutely. Just get your ass uncomfortable every day and learn, because in that journey, if you're humble and you shut up and you open your ears, because God gave us 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, you listen, you internalize, and you act on it. And that's what I'd love to get people to do. And I know that you do it in spades with your clients as well. So how about weaknesses? What weaknesses do you feel you have? I'm saying it with a smile because I'm blessed to work with Debi, so I kind of know, but I want to hear it.
I think well, we know I'm a smartass. And we know that.
I think that's a strength. You kidding me?
Yeah, I did too, but some people don't.
I know, right?
Yeah, I think that's not true. I mean, I have weaknesses, but I guess it's because as of recent, I've been told that my strengths can be looked at as weaknesses, right?
Okay.
Not weaknesses, but personality flaws of not drinking. That's a strength to me.
Yeah.
Being independent, that's a strength to me. Things like that. Weaknesses, having been on my own for a really long time, I think it's hard for me to allow other people to help me. I think that I always say I can do it myself. I'm not always very good at although I'm getting better at taking compliments.
Sure.
And I think that I reply quick. I'm learning better to take time to think about things before I say them. And a lot of my personality flaws and weaknesses I've been working on, obviously, since I got back in the program, since that's something that I didn't do before. And so I think that I've definitely worked on a lot of those.
Do you appreciate them?
Yes.
Tell me why. Tell us why.
That I appreciate my weaknesses? Because nobody's perfect. Right? Nobody's perfect, right?
Yeah. We always have something to work on. You said before, we always want to level up. And if you have that weakness, you can always find something to move towards. That's beautiful, Debi.
There's so many different areas. But I also believe that, and in coaching and looking for a good coach is somebody who also highlights your strengths and isn't always working on your weaknesses either.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta be like, as a coach, we have to celebrate everything for them and look for things when it's hard to find them. You know what I'm saying? And that's huge for anybody, just to keep them on that course. Because you and I are nothing more than really GPSs, right? We're not telling them where to go. They come up with it. They plug in the address. We're just there if a tree falls across the road. If you're coming over to Fergie's place, you're like, oh, tree. You're not gonna be like, I'm not going. No, we'll find a freaking other way, right? But then, like you had said earlier, we can't buckle the seatbelt if they so choose to, or start the car or put it in gear. They've got to do the work. And that's the difference between coaching and consulting. Because I used to be what I thought was a coach-sultant, where I'd tell people what to do and be like, Fergie, that didn't work. You're a freaking idiot.
I don't want to be responsible for that.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. So let's get back in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, right? Let's go back to the double deuce. The 22-year-old Debi. I don't want you to change anything in your life. Yeah, there's a few things, of course, but what you've went through has got you here. But what would you might tell her to help her shorten her learning curve, or maybe blast through maybe just a little bit quicker?
Honestly, at this stage in the game and where I am right now, and in the chapter of my life that I'm going through with my profession, pay attention and ask questions to your elders.
Yes.
Because they're not going to be around forever. And right now, my cousin and my sister were kind of playing catch up on my grandmother and her life, because I'm paralleling it right now. And we've realized that, and it's insane.
Right.
And I think back and I go, I was only 12 when this happened. I was 16 or 18 or 20 when my grandparents sold their farm, and I wasn't present because I was down in Ocean City, Maryland, and having a good time. And that's fine. You're young. You should have a good time.
Yeah.
But that is also the time now when you're in your 40s, you're going to look back and go, I didn't ask enough questions.
Thank you.
I really did not get to know my elders the way that I wish I could have and ask the questions that I need to know now.
Right. That's awesome.
I mean, your parents, if they're lucky enough to still be alive, that's great. And they can answer the questions for you.
Sure.
But I find that now is the time where I wish I would have.
That's fantastic. I mean, like Leah Woodford, another good friend that I rock stages with, she says, get your asking gear, right? She owns the Fem City magazine. She does all this stuff. And she said, Fergie, get your asking gear one day. And I'm like, that's true. I was my late 40s then. And I would be like, dude, all I have to do is freaking ask. And that's the thing is my superpower is curiosity. I'm super curious. And sometimes I forget that. And I forget to ask that. So how do you want your dash remembered, that little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and your death date? God willing, hopefully it's way, way down the line. But how do you want your dash remembered?
That she may have been burned down to the ground several times in her life, but every time she rose from the ashes brighter than before.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's
like reinvent, rebuild, and just keep trying.
Yeah. You don't ever actually fail unless you quit. That's the truth. So what do you think people might misunderstand the most about Debi?
I think that people misunderstand the most, unless you get to know me, that there's a soft feminine side.
Okay.
That there is a sweet, funny, genuine, unique, and only my inner circle and my family, I think at times really get to see that.
I love when I get to see it, because you're so driven. And I love that. And you and I are kind of like, you're my sister from another mister, right? And I'm it's like that. It's like we are so driven that we sometimes just have to be like, and people see us and they're like, dude, do you have any fun? And our friends and family kind of see it, but other people don't.
And we're vulnerable with each other, right? Like I can be vulnerable. I trust you. I can be open. I can be honest. And I think that people can often think that she's hard, she's independent, she's tough, she's this, she's that. But what I love the most is the time where I get to just chill and be funny and be silly and say the dumb things where did she really just say that?
Right.
Like, did I really just hear that come out of an educated woman's mouth? and I'm fine with that, because like I want to be able to be like, you're such an idiot.
Right. So how about Debi's definition of a life well lived?
A life well lived? It's interesting because that's been changing, right?
Really?
I thought that a life well lived was going to look one way. And now I've realized that it's okay for a life well lived to look a different way.
Right.
If that life well lived means that you're happy and you're surrounded by family and friends who know and love you, and you can do what you love. For example, nobody's coming to save you. You can't count on that. Somebody else is just going to come in and sweep you off your feet, and that old fairy tale, you're going to go live happily ever after. And then you come and think, okay, if that didn't work, no, you have to build it. You have to do it. And if that means that someday down the road, you're 60 and single, but you've got 4 horses on a farm and you have 6 dogs and
you're happy.
Wake up every day and you look outside and go, this is what I built for myself.
Right.
And I am so happy in the woods and with the ocean and everything else. Your life can be well lived no matter how you design it.
That's amazing. Absolutely. I agree 1,000,000 trillion kajillion % on that. And squad, time to shine today podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and Debbie, I'm going to ask you a few of these, but I want to kind of get them updated as we move through this interview. And the rules, like you got 5 seconds to answer them with no explanations, and they can all be answered that way. You ready to level up?
Yep.
Let's do this. Debbie, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Work smarter, not harder.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Waking up every morning and listen to a motivational podcast.
Love it. So see me walking down the street or at the beach or at a networking event, and you're like, man, Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums. What book might you hand me that's really changed your mind and mindset and kind of really had you level up?
I've read so many. I would probably, I liked The Go-Giver. That's sticking out right now, but my favorite is always The Alchemist.
Oh yeah, Kohilo, he's awesome in that.
I mean,
love it. Most commonly used emoji when you text?
hearts.
Love it. Nicknames growing up?
I'm not even going to repeat the one, but as in college, it became Debbie Snacks, little snack cakes. Which
love it. Love that's awesome. So, chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Checkers.
Gotcha. You got a time machine, and you can go 20 years in the future or visit a time in the past. 20 years in the past, which we go?
20 years in the past.
Me too. There's an awesome kegger in like 1989 that I'd love to go back to. Hell yeah. Headline for your life.
Together we can do hard things.
That's exactly her motto. That's killer.
That is my motto, but I also like elevate your mind, elevate your body, elevate your world.
Love it. That's badass. Any superstitions you might buy into?
Yes. I always lift my feet when I go over railroad tracks, which down here is every day.
it's
multiple times a day.
Yeah, exactly. Go-to ice cream flavor.
Lactose intolerant, so anyone that is lactose free, but coffee.
Okay, very cool. There's a sandwich called the Debi Snacks. Build that sandwich for me.
Oh, pita bread or scooped out wheat bread, lettuce, turkey, jalapenos, cucumbers, spinach, and chipotle sauce.
No, now I know why you're my friend. Favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time and or money to?
JAFCO. JAFCO is a Jewish orphanage in Sunrise, Florida that my family has.
Love that. You do that. That's fantastic. Yes. And last question, you can elaborate on this one a little bit, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
80s.
Me too. Dude, everything happened in the 80s, man. Everything from, let's say, we got invaded by like U2, Duran Duran. We had Men at Work that invaded us. We had Big Hair Don't Care, rap, Beastie Boys, Run DMC. It's like everything started.
Dr. Dre.
Yes.
It goes into the 90s, but the 90s hip hop. But I mean,
but if you look at or listen to songs now, they have a lot of their hooks. Like Pitbull's like song will have like Aha's Take On Me from the 80s is his hook. Like a lot of them, Flow Rider, a lot of his stuff is hooks. Round. Dude, that was by Dead or Alive. It's like a lot of them are. Tracy
Chapman's Fast Car.
There you go. Absolutely.
I mean, that the children today, and I call them children, actually think that that's a new song and they want to know why we know it. Like,
I love that. I love it. So the stage is yours. How can we find you?
My website, dbwellbeing.com. Instagram is at debwellbeing.
I'll throw them all in the show notes, love. You don't have to worry about going through each
you can find me on my website and then Linktree and everything else. But you mean where here can you find me?
Yeah, just
on the beach in Jupiter.
There you go. You'll be there. Shh, don't say that. We'll edit that out. But so like, I believe that you have some kind of giveaway, which I've actually opted into, but tell me a little bit about the 7-day resets.
Yes, I wanted to throw something out there for all the moms and women who are going into the fourth quarter of the year already. Kids going back to school, moms coming back to working out full time. They're exhausted from being home with the kids all summer. And we're gearing up for the holiday season already. Right. And so I just put together a real quick a 7-day free fall reset in 15 minutes or less. And I wanted to come up with some little things that aren't your normal everyday things, but something that they could do. There's a recipe for a 3-ingredient shake. There's little tips and tricks on just stretching, rolling your feet out, because everything starts from the feet up. Just 15 minutes a day for 7 days to kind of give yourself a little bit of a reset.
Right.
And gear up for that fall season, which is my favorite.
Does each day have, you said, kind of has a different exercise to help you level up?
I give them all to you, and you're
okay.
Gotcha. You're just, I was going to drop them one at a time and give them to you and let you do it. But then I decided no working mother or busy businesswoman is going to want to get 7 days of emails from me.
Right.
So
I got
you can go on my website. You can look at it on my Instagram. All you got to do is opt in with your best email and we'll send it to you. And you can subscribe for.
This is Debi's website. If you're on Vimeo or on YouTube, you take a look at this. Again, it's dbwellbeing.com. It's awesome. Awesome site. Very well put together. Absolutely kick ass. And Debi, do me one last solid and leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
I think that the knowledge nugget today is going to be to trust your gut. Trust your gut when it's telling you that something or someone isn't right, or that a situation isn't right, or that you're being called to something bigger, higher, better. Trust it. Because for years I didn't. And now
same boat as me, love. Absolutely.
But everything comes at the perfect time. So really trust the timing of your life. I
love it. I love it. And squad, I just had a fun conversation with somebody that I get to talk to quite a bit, but I wanted you guys to hear, her words. I mean, education played a huge part in Debi's life, from teaching at the Y to everything else that she had really helps her lean in and get people's stories, to really move them, to help them, to move them along their journey. She started, what really stood out to me about her working with the detention, kind of like the last chance, the last stop. And it's like her heart had to be solidly in place on a daily basis to make sure that they were going in the right direction if they were able to do that. She learns to leverage her strengths of connections now where she didn't before, which I'm so glad that she's doing that, but she's so connected and people love to work with her. And she reminds us that a great coach is someone that you can trust, number one, that's honest, will tell you the hard things, but yet will be your biggest cheerleader, right? Every coach, she reminds us, should have a coach and also walk that fire of experience. She wants you to really kind of pay attention to your intuition and also never, ever stop getting your ask in gear. If you don't know anything, ask, and people will be there to help you. I believe Debi does things for the intention, not the attention. She's not out there like, wee, look at me, look at me. She's out there really leaning in. I call it listening with my neck, and really wants to get your story so she can see the path and their GPS that she can put you on. I'm a firm believer she's planting trees she's never going to sit in the shade of. I mean, I know she's going to author a book one day. I know that she's absolutely just kicks ass every single day. And that's somebody that I want to surround myself with. And I know you want to surround yourself with. And I would love to make a warm introduction to Debi if you would love her services, or even just to have, I know that she offers a free half-hour power where she can talk and work through your stuff. So Debi, thank you so much for coming on. You level up your health. You level up your wealth. You're one of my besties for the resty. Thank you so much. Again, you've earned a second varsity letter at Time to Shine today. Absolutely love your guts.
Love you too. Thank you for everything always.
Yay, chat soon. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today, proudly brought to you by Inlet Properties and Investments. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on the Time to Shine Today podcast, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you'd like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also, there you will see our recommended resources. We hope you will help support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have been listening to, it'd be great if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's your time to shine.